Podcast. This is a call to action to live above limitations that try to disrupt your peace, steal your joy, and limit your access to your best life. I'm your favorite host, Latasha Weatherspoon, joined today by my favorite host, Mr. Chazz Bailey.
Hello, world. This is Chazz Bailey, the COO. I stole your spotlight.
See, you see what he does? So you just stole my moment, right?
Took the moment.
We also have some special guests in the house with us tonight as we address the marriage mentality, what it takes to build a happy marriage and maintain a happy marriage. So we're going to let our guests introduce themselves to you. But before we go any further, I want you guys to stop what you're doing. Follow The Lifted Lifestyle on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at The Lifted Lifestyle and on Twitter at
Love the Lifted.
At Love the Lifted. That was a test. Just wanted to make sure he knew.
I'll be here next week.
So do that right now. You can also join us live on the Lifted Lifestyle Facebook page so you can experience this show and see our lovely guests who we're going to let introduce themselves. How y'all doing?
Hey, guests.
So who has the microphone? Okay, so say your name and tell us how long you've been married.
My name is Charles Lemons.
And my name is Lisa Ventress Lemons.
And we've been married for 13 months.
13 months. I like that. He's
good.
Down to the minute, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Down to the minute, right? Okay. Our next couple.
I'm John.
My name is Christina.
And we've been married for 4 years.
All right, 4 years.
Awesome.
All right, moving up.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Belinda.
And we've been married 34 years.
They're
Champions.
our experts.
Champions.
We want to know everything they know.
Please.
And we are Latasha.
And I'm Chazz.
Soon to be the Baileys.
Good job.
Soon to be the Baileys. I don't know. We'll see how this show goes.
All right.
That's right. We'll see how this show goes. So, guys, before we get into our show, we're going to follow our usual format, and we're going to talk about what we're grateful for. Chazz, what are you grateful for this week?
Well, this week, as we know, it's Valentine's week. I'm grateful for love, and not necessarily the aspect of love just with your mate. It's because during the week, I had 3 people in 3 different areas of my life tell me they love me. First from my parents, one from you, and also one from my close friend. And so to get in all 3 aspects mean that love is real and it comes in many forms.
It's surrounding you.
So yeah, I'm definitely grateful for love.
Awesome. Well, I am grateful for, last night I got to see one of my literary idols, Miss Nikki Giovanni. I not only got to see her, pardon me, but I got to talk to her and tell her how honored I was to perform for her when I was a young writer at Southern University. Hey, Jaguar Nation. So I am definitely grateful for that opportunity. You don't get to just meet your legends and icons every day, so that was a moment that I always cherish.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Our special guest.
Well, I'm grateful for for Valentine's, we went out and stayed the night out away from the house, and I took the day off on Thursday, so we got to spend some good time together. And then yesterday afternoon, we got to go play with both of our grandchildren. So
that's awesome.
I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
He stole my answer. I'm grateful for Nathan Neese and that he took the time off from work this week to make our Valentine's special and just to get us away. And we had a special time and good meal and just good time. So.
Guys, y'all taking notes?
Yeah, taking notes.
Y'all taking notes?
Wasn't the 34th date, it's the 34th year, so good job.
And I guess I'm grateful for just the weekend that's upcoming and spending time with Christina and also getting away from work a little bit. It's been a rough week, and so getting on my bike tomorrow morning hopefully and training and getting to spend time at the house too.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm grateful for access to information because this week was life-changing for me. We volunteer for a rescue, and so I've been kind of an animal advocate, and I started researching which brands are cruelty-free. And the
ease with which I was able to find the information and pick the brands that I want to use from now on was just amazing. And I think it's great that whatever the cause is, you can find your way so easily these days.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're going to have to let us know that.
I think for me, I'm grateful for yesterday, and I'm also grateful for today. I'm grateful for my wife and being married for 1 year. And the reason I say yesterday and today is that although Valentine Day is a holiday that people like to celebrate, I like to try my best to celebrate my wife every single day, not just on any particular holiday that can be marked on the calendar. So I'm definitely grateful for everything that we have, and I'm grateful for our tomorrow because I look forward to it.
Okay,
awesome.
come on. That's a word.
Well, all right then.
All right.
Good answer. I am grateful for having Charles as my spouse and knowing that I do not have to walk this journey alone. I've been single for a long time, and I could do single well. I was an expert. And so, learning how to walk our journey together, I'm grateful for that. I'm specifically grateful for this week in particular. We had a family emergency, and again, it ties into me knowing that prior to being married, I would have had to deal with that on my own. However, having a spouse now, you don't have to deal with either happy times or sad times, stressful, overwhelming times. You don't have to walk those roads alone anymore. So I'm grateful for our godly partnership.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's
You
awesome.
guys are just absolutely amazing.
I know.
I'm excited to have
This wasn't planned. This was not scripted. what
Yeah,
they
we
just
didn't
said.
we didn't give them the questions ahead of time. So
that's
this is
awesome.
authentic conversation. We want to keep it real. The lifted lifestyle is about living the things that we teach. So we want to make
Exactly.
sure that we're inviting people that live it as well. So we're excited.
Very, very excited.
So we're gonna jump right into our show and addressing the mentality behind marriage. So there are a lot of people who try to convince you that marriage is just horrible, and it's the hardest thing you can ever do. Not that I'm minimizing it in any way, because marriage is, of course, it can be difficult, but I think that it's doable when you have a person who's your teammate, right?
No, I agree. It's no less than anything you go through in life, because you have to prepare for it and make yourself readily available for someone else that you deem in a higher position than you, because you looking beyond yourself. You're no longer selfish. As my uncle used to tell me, he said, "Let me know when you find someone you love more than yourself, and you'll be all right." So I was like,
You
"All right."
love me more than yourself.
I didn't give no names though. I'm just playing.
I'm gonna call your grandmother.
All right.
I am going to. Well, so one of the things that Chazz and I have been doing as we prepare for our own marriage is talking to other couples about what has made their marriage successful. And of course, every marriage is different. However, there are some things that we found that are commonalities among people who are married that make your marriage successful and give you a foundation. So we wanted to bring that conversation to our audience, because we are aware that we're not the only ones that are preparing to spend our lives together.
Exactly, and not just for the ones that are preparing, the ones that are currently are.
That's true.
Experiencing marriage, and it can be, like you said, ups and downs, but it's not only doable, it's basically a success story for you. So
Awesome.
I think it's a
Awesome.
good thing.
So our first topic of conversation is, what do you believe is the key component to a happy marriage? What do you believe the key component is to a happy marriage?
So,
We're gonna let's let our audience members talk first. I see Mr. Lemons has his hands up back there.
no,
That's
you do it.
okay.
Hey, you just jump in.
I think most importantly, the key to, or the most important key to a successful marriage is having Christ and letting him be at the head of your marriage. Because us as humans, we can often get caught up into our own mentality and the way we think and the way we process. But if we love ourselves and love our spouse as Christ directed us to love each other, then I think that's definitely the way that we should always put forth our best effort to start with.
Okay.
I dare somebody to argue with that.
Okay. So,
Don't. He was just playing.
So I definitely agree with what my husband has said. And I would also add being able to examine self, ending your brokenness. I don't care how great you are, how successful you think you are. Everyone has some brokenness. And I think that having an expectation that you're dealing with a real human being, they're not going to be perfect all the time. And just like you have some brokenness somewhere, you may not have been able to pinpoint it. They have some as well. And so you're taking their great aspects and you're taking their not so great aspects and being willing to, again, like I'm saying, walk that journey together to fully understand how we work together.
You know, Lisa, that's a powerful point. Let's stay there for a moment, because when you talk about marriage, you know, when you're a little girl, and I can only speak for me, when I was a little girl, you know, you saw the fairy tales, right? And you saw these people, and it was just magical all the time, you know, and you even like the Cosby Show, you know, you saw Cliff and Claire, they never had any spats for real, you know, and it was always magical and peaceful, but it doesn't really examine the fact that you are dealing with a real person. And just like you come to the table with your own emotional issues and I don't want to call it baggage, but I'll just call it stuff from your journey in life, you have to imagine that the person that you're marrying is bringing their own stuff too. So being able to give your spouse some grace and give your spouse the same grace that you expect, you know, because it's easy to be like, well, babe, you know I didn't mean it when, but it's not always easy to accept an apology. No,
I agree, because you have to look at both sides of it, and that's where it comes in to be not as selfish as you were before, because marriage is a team. It's a team sport. And basically, if you're just a star player and you're trying to run the show, you can only get so far by yourself. So understanding who's on your team and doing the best for your team, who is actually your partner in life. So if you follow that, I think you should be good to go.
That's good. That's good. Let's listen to the experts.
I think just a practical thing is to learn to really listen to one another. And, you know, you learn their vibes, and you kind of almost can read their minds sometime, but you really just have to listen and just, you know, listen to what they have to say. And maybe sometimes read between the lines, but, you know, you just got to make sure they're talking and make sure you're listening.
Well, Ms. Belinda, before you move on, I'm a woman, right? And I'm a talker. Give me some advice from experience on the best way to listen, because it's not always easy.
Well, I guess Nathan probably needs to do this one, because
don't get in trouble, Nathan.
Because I mean, he's the one that's always expressing that I didn't listen to you, or if I would have listened to you, and stuff like that. So do you want to talk about it? Yeah, you talk.
Well, I mean, you know, as followers of Christ, you know, we wake up early and we spend time together in prayer. And so that gets our hearts united in that aspect. But to listen, you know, it's really setting aside my wants and my desires at times, just to, you know, ask her questions and be willing to sit and listen to the answers, and you know, or, you know, tell her what I'm thinking, and, you know, just ask for feedback. So, you know, a lot of it is, it's not a one-way conversation. It's, you know, here's my thoughts and my feelings. Let me hear your, you know, how does that affect you? You know, does it affect your emotions? Do I need to, you know, is there something?
Good questions, Mr. Write this down. Some good questions. I like that. But, you know, one other thing too, though, my friend told me something that I thought was powerful. He said, when you and Chazz are having a conversation and it's heated, and I know you because he knows me well. We've been friends for a long time. He's like, when you get in that moment and you have something you want to say right now, he said, fix yourself a glass of water. He said, every time you're in a space where you want to cut him off, take a sip. Because it forces you to, one, not talk, and to two, you can't do anything but listen when you're drinking, you know. So that was just a little practical way that I found for myself. I'm telling you about my struggles, you know, on how to listen.
Well, and a lot of it is also, if she's telling me something, then I'm not a lot of times she's not asking for advice. She's just wanting to tell of her experience and tell of her thoughts, and just not wanting me to solve a problem.
That's good.
So it's big, not for me. I've had to learn to, while she's talking, to actually listen and not
go into problem solving.
Not try to think of a solution to her problem.
Exactly.
And that she may not even think it's a problem. She's just expressing what's been going on.
Oh, that's good. Good.
And so a lot of times I have to repeat what she has said to me so that I can understand. So I hear you saying this. Is that correct? And
this is why they are the experts.
Yeah, exactly.
Right here.
Exactly.
Goodness.
That's awesome. That's good advice.
That's good advice. Because I know for me sometimes, especially if I'm having a long day and I'm just rambling it off, there's some things I just need you to take in. Just take it.
Yeah, exactly. Because
that's awesome.
I think it comes in our nature to fix. So if we hear a problem, we don't process every single detail. We see water leak, pipe busted, messed up. So we say, okay, stop the leak, fix the pipe, no longer busted. Everything is good. But on the other end, we wonder why the problem is still going on. Like, we solved it. There's no more water leak. But we recognize it from a different place. So sometimes it goes back to taking heed to your own self and not being as selfish and going to accomplish and save the world and being a superhero.
But when your wife says, find somebody to fix that leak, and you don't mess with it, you need to listen to it.
Yes!
I can't save you there. I can't save you there.
Call the plumber.
I can't save you there. So.
Okay, John and Christina, what do you guys think the key to a happy marriage is?
I guess in general, I think it's having a lot of respect for each other. I think one of my favorite things about our relationship that's been different from previous ones that I've had is that we like to challenge each other intellectually a lot. And so when we do that, she comes from overseas, so we have different points of views on different issues and stuff. And so we're always respectful, and I try to make sure that I listen and appreciate what she's saying and give it thought after the fact as well. So take it someplace else where I can kind of be by myself, listen to what she had to say, and then pick it back up after that. So
that's cool.
Sit with it for a moment. Meditate on how your wife feels. Just sit with it for a moment. That's good. I like that.
Thanks for stealing my answer, but no, that has been something that I've respected greatly. The amount of tolerance and the listening skills that John has, because we've truly come from very different backgrounds, and we've had very many amazing discussions, and we've only ever had 2 arguments in the 7.5 years that we've been dating.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And that's something that I'm really, really proud of, because that's the type of communication that we have. And what I want to add is, when I communicate, I try not to make him have to read between the lines, because he's not good at it.
Ooh, that's good.
You didn't have to add that part. That's my friend. John's my friend.
So, but it ultimately causes problems. So, I'll give a very personal example. So I've been struggling greatly with anxiety to the point where I was having a very hard time functioning. Mm-hmm. And while he heard that I had anxiety, he didn't understand how I felt because I didn't communicate that clearly. And this is not on him, because everybody feels differently. And so because I failed to express just how much it was affecting my daily life, he did not realize how much of a problem it has become. And we have since resolved the issue.
That's awesome.
And that was something that was very, very difficult for me to talk about. So I didn't want to go into the detail, but sometimes you just have to.
Yeah.
If you want to let your teammate in on your problem.
That's awesome.
What
do you think?
Miss Ventress Lemons back there told me something that was very, very powerful when Chaz and I were dating. She's like, don't have the conversation with yourself. Don't have the conversation in your head, you know, because he can't read your mind. So if you don't tell him exactly what it is you feel and exactly why it is you feel that way, he won't get it. So you have to be clear and transparent in what you feel in order to give him the tools to be the best teammate that he can be. Because a lot of times as women, we do that. We expect you guys to just know the answer. I come home, I'm sulking, I'm not really talking, I'm walking around the house, I'm moping. You're supposed to fix it. But that's not fair, because the truth is, you know, while it goes back to, I think, that princess conditioning, you know, conditioning that someone is going to come in and you know, and make it all better. But the truth is, we have to communicate with our partners and give them the tools to be the best person for us.
No, I agree. I can't go any further than that, but it works both ways, because a lot of times, you know, it may not be as far as solving a problem as far as our feelings, but it may be just something simple as we said it. We say something, because usually our language is just more direct. So this is the issue, but we don't provide the details sometimes. So if you don't know the details and you do it wrong, you're like, oh, just get out the way, I'll do it. But then that can cause another issue. So it's just going back, you know, being less selfish. So.
What do you think the key is, Mr. Bailey?
I think the key, honestly, is understanding your partner, learning and knowing who your partner is. The reason I say that is because at times, if what that works for you doesn't work for everyone else. So once I understand who you are, how you see the world, where you come from, I can direct my language, I can direct my actions towards you. Because if I expect you to do one thing and you do another based on who you are, how can I accurately be mad at you for that? So it's basically understanding your teammates. So I'm a sports guy. So if I'm playing football or basketball or what have you, I understand that my teammate is going to be in this position when he wants to score. But I can't want him to score and he's not in that position, because he's used to being in that one position when he scores. So how can I be mad at you for being in the wrong position when we haven't had that come together meeting about that?
Awesome. For me, I really think that, you know, a general consensus is communication. Over communicate. You know, Chaz and I talk about everything. Good, bad, and ugly. You know, some conversations require, you know, both of us to just be like, man, you really feel like that? You know, but you gotta do the work. It's just like any other thing that you want to grow in your life. You know, you have to nurture it. You have to harvest it. You have to water it. So communication for me is the water. You know, you have to pour the water on your relationship if you expect it to grow. You know, talk about things even when it's difficult, you know, because I think that sometimes when we don't say what it is we feel or what it is we mean, it harbors resentment.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it builds resentment. And a lot of times the biggest thing that breaks relationships is resentment. Because over a while, it starts to build. And then I'm mad at you about this one little thing. But what I'm really mad at you about is the fact that you didn't hear my feelings 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
And it just kind of piles on top of one another, you know. So I think that it's important to do that work and have those conversations on the front end.
Yeah, definitely. And then you got to understand, you know, I'm in the right now moment, so I don't even know what happened yesterday. So you bring up 2 weeks.
That's important too. That brings me to my next point that I want to kind of address with everyone is fighting fair. You know, how do you handle it when you're not in the best space, when you're not agreeing, when you're not seeing things in the same light? Or how do you get back to center in your communication or in your marriage and relationships? You got the microphone, Christina.
Ooh.
All right. Well, we didn't have very many big disagreements, though we had very many different views, and the point is to be respectful. If you respect the other opinion, you're going to hear the other side, and you're going to be able to see the other side. When you are so set on what you're thinking and you're not listening to your point, then you will never be able to see it from the other person's perspective, and you'll never be able to compromise, because all the things that we disagreed on, we've met in the middle. And it may not have been on the day that we discussed them, but we sat on it, we thought about it, and then maybe a couple months later when it came back up, we were like, actually, you know what, you had a really good point. And when it does get heated, which again happened to us 2 times that I can recall, the main thing is make sure that it stays about what you're talking about. If you start bringing something else in, then all you're doing is hurting the other person. So if there's one thing that really makes you mad, make sure that that's the only thing that you're talking about.
That's good, Christina.
That's really good.
Mr. and Mrs. Lemons? He offered it to you as a courtesy.
Can you repeat the question?
Such a gentleman.
What's the key to fighting fair?
I think the biggest thing, and this kind of goes back to your first question, is that whenever you are having a disagreement or when you're in the midst of that conversation, one of the key components is listen to understand versus listening to respond.
Ooh,
because I think a
that's
lot of
good.
times when you're talking or you're having a conversation and you're going back and forth, you know, it's like you're gearing up to say, oh, you know what, I need to prove my point. And then internally, when you're working on trying to get your point out, you're missing a lot of the key components of what's being stated to you, and you never really address the problem initially from what's actually taking place. And I think for me, I internalize a lot of information, and that's not a good thing for her because eventually she won't really hear what I'm trying to say. And if you're trying to resolve or have conflict for that particular issue, then I think it's very, very important that, for one, you can both humble yourselves enough to say, hey, you know what, maybe we need to step back from this conversation just a moment so we can kind of regroup, and then maybe we can clear our heads and peacefully discuss the situation and get out of that heated situation that you've created, because your initial reaction is to be heard versus to understand what's being said to you.
Oh, that's good.
That's really good. That's really good.
I would also like to add, in regards to resolving conflict, to always be mindful that the absence, or I would say your own perception of the absence of conflict, does not necessarily equal peace.
Ooh.
And so sometimes, purposely avoiding difficult things just to not ruffle the feathers or to not create a negative energy in the house does not help eliminate and or resolve further conflict, especially when you just talked about things piling up, and they will if they aren't addressed. But I would say sometimes, though, you're going to have a different personality, and if you know that you're the person in the relationship that is quick to de-escalate, right? Sometimes you don't always want to be that person because, you can be a little petty sometimes. But if you know that generally, like, that's your role because maybe your spouse or your significant other has that area of growth that they need to learn to be able to walk away from heated situations, I would say, for me, I don't mind saying, you know what, maybe I heard it wrong. In my mind, I'm like, I heard it pretty clearly. But, right, if you want to de-escalate and reach resolve, reconciliation, you have to be willing to you need to want to what do you want to reconcile or do you want to be right?
Ooh.
Do you want to reconcile or do you want to be right? Do you want to reconcile? I have to ask myself that multiple times. And so knowing that I want to live in peace and harmony and understanding in my household, if I have to say, you know what, maybe I didn't hear you, or maybe I wasn't listening, or maybe I had my own thoughts and I came in here with preconceived ideas about how it should have gone based upon my experiences.
Now that's good.
And I imputed that on you. Yeah. So let's revisit.
That's awesome.
Man, that's good. Do you want to reconcile or do you want to be right? I think that's a powerful, powerful point of view.
We just don't fight. But
that's awesome.
I mean, Nathan's got some ideas how to, with students and stuff like that he's said, and I'm sure he uses them on me sometimes.
Jedi mind tricks, huh?
I guess we really did not fight until we just didn't argue or anything. But when we were married 4 years before we had children. And when I was expecting, it seems like that's when we started having a little bit of disagreement in there. But I was tired. I was sick.
Yeah.
So owning that it was some
Mm-hmm.
external factors, and I think that's something
a
to
good point.
Lisa's point. Honor the fact that honor where you are in the process and what you're bringing to the conversation,
Yeah.
whether it is your mood or your preconceived notions. Honor your place in the conversation. Chaz?
No, I agree.
Fight fair.
Yeah, fight fair. I agree wholeheartedly with what was said earlier, but I will go along with Lisa is basically understanding who you are, and peace requires a sense of sacrifice, and that's not only with relationships, that's with everything. So in order for peace to be obtained, something has to be sacrificed. And so if you want to sacrifice your feelings or want to resolve the matter or be right, or, reconcile everything. But it's going to require a sense of sacrifice. Okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice that I'm not right when in my mind I may know I'm right, because it's basically doing what for the greater good.
Awesome.
So
one tool that we use that I think is awesome is giving your partner, not ambushing your partner, essentially. So if you're upset about something, you can take an object, whatever the object is. In our case, we use an elephant, where if there's an elephant in the room, there's something we need to talk about. So I'll put the elephant out and give him an opportunity to come to the conversation when he's ready, so that it's not like I couldn't wait till I saw you so I could tell you, one of those kind of things where he's just running into fast fire, And that takes discipline and balance on both people's part, because when you're mad, it's not easy to just be like, I'm going to wait until he's ready to talk about my issue. It's not necessarily the easiest, but it's also, I can imagine, not easy for the other person,
Yeah, I can agree with that. So it's just basically overall, it's respecting your partner and respecting the time and the space and the opportunity, giving them a chance to respond.
Yeah, because that I think is important, because it really honors the fact that this other person is the person I chose. This person, even though we're having a moment of inconsistency, this is the person that I chose. And I used to tell him when we were dating, as long as you're trying, I'm staying. And that's like the thing is, you got to dig your heels in the ground and be like, okay, I'm going to do the work even when it's difficult, because this is the person that I chose.
Yeah.
Y'all are giving us some good advice, good feedback today. And I hope that this has been as beneficial to our audience as it has been for me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've definitely learned some things. We might have to have a part 2 of this, because I just feel like we haven't gotten to the meat.
The meat of it, huh?
Of it all. We had a little potatoes, but we didn't get to the meat of it all. So we're going to close by allowing our audience members, who are all experts, as you can see, in the marriage mentality, giving us one key to staying married happily forever, like one principle.
Pray together.
Oh, awesome.
I would say Jesus. I mean, and I agree with him, prayer. But, it's like a triangle. Here's Nathan on this side, here's me. And then the closer you get, Jesus is up here at the top, and the closer you get the closer you get together, the closer you are. The closer you get to Jesus, the closer you get as a couple. And
that's awesome.
I think that really is the focus is for our marriage is Jesus and praying together. And
I think it's to travel a lot. I think it gets you out of the everyday stress of life and kind of resets you. So I think traveling is
awesome. I love traveling.
Great way to keep the relationship going.
Yeah, to your point, even when we're not traveling, we're looking forward to traveling and planning it. So, but my answer again would be respect. Despite what you think about what your partner may be saying or doing at the moment, respect it and maybe address it, but make sure that they're their own person and that you respect and love them, because like you said, they're the ones you chose.
Awesome.
I think the one key element is to remember that your objective is to be one. So you have to die to self. You can no longer allow yourself to think as an individual and think selfish thoughts to put yourself at the advantage. I think you have to always be willing to keep you two at the forefront of every single thing, every single decision that you make. So die to self, I think, will be a very good key to a strong marriage.
Good.
And I would also say when you're evenly yoked, dying to self is not what everybody else will think. Oh, no, it's not like that. It's easier to do than most people would think when you're evenly yoked and both interested in walking towards oneness. But that's not my answer. My answer would be enjoying the nothingness. And when I say that, enjoying the little things. And don't allow your life to be cluttered by all of the responsibilities all the time. I mean, we people watch. We love that. On a random Tuesday with ice cream. Like
that's fun.
I mean, and it is because we understand that that's a privilege and a luxury to be able to do that right now while, we don't have kids. We have professional responsibilities and family and friends, but we just bask in being able to enjoy the nothingness and not clouding our lives so much that we can't see each other or see God at work in our marriage.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Mr. Bailey?
I'm not married yet, but
Ooh.
but what I
tried it.
but what I would say is combining all of that into one and just saying walking together, understanding that you all have a goal and you have vows that you made, and you made those vows together. So you cannot walk out of that line, or you can't void that contract. So walk in the contract, walk together to achieve your goal as a team.
For me, it's not, this what I'm about to say is not mine. I actually met an older lady who, her name was Miss Edna, and her husband had been married for 74 years when I met her.
Wow.
And I said to her, Miss Edna, give me the secret, girl. Let me take some notes. Tell me how you stayed married and happily married, because when you would see them together, it was like they were like 19, He was trying to kiss her on the cheek. It was just beautiful to watch. And I said, well, how did y'all do it? How did y'all stay this happy for this long? And she said, we decided when we first got married that we were never gonna leave. But more than deciding that we were never gonna leave, we also decided we were never gonna give the other person a reason to leave. So I think that when you approach your marriage with the mindset and the eyes of service to your partner, and putting your focus on their needs and their happiness, and not creating a chaotic environment for them, and trusting that they are doing the same thing, it gets easier. So I'm going to take Miss Edna's advice
that's some good
into
advice.
my marriage, because I think that is a good focal point, especially in society where now everyone's reminding you that the divorce rate is whatever the divorce rate is. Going into it with the mind that I'm never going to leave, but more than that, I'm never going to give you a reason to leave.
Yeah.
And trusting that my partner is adopting the same kind of mentality.
Yes. Kind of like I said last night when they were saying facts on TV. You can skew the numbers either way, because they can say the divorce rate is because of this, that, and the third. But the number one reason for divorce is marriage, because you get married to get, you can't get divorced unless you're married. But you have to understand that I don't plan to. And this will never happen. You have to, kind of like when we do our affirmations. I am married forever. When you do that and you set yourself in stone at that point, you're not here because of anything other than the person that you're with. When you go beyond that and you say, well, this person can do this for me or that, it's not about that. It's about, I'm with this person because this is my life partner. This is my soulmate, that we're walking in the light together. So just keeping it simple, keeping it what it was meant to be.
Awesome. Okay, Chazz, give us our good news story of the week.
All right, the good news story of the week comes from another couple. They actually recently celebrated their 60th year of marriage. And on the downside of it, the wife, she actually is suffering from Alzheimer's. But as some people would look at that as being a negative, the husband, though he's older as well, is taking heed to his vows and caring for her each day, and
Wow.
putting little notes around the house telling her how much he loves her, how much this meant to him when he was younger and when they were doing certain activities. So it was a reminder of the things that Alzheimer's may help you to forget. But when they are asked about it, she says, he always says, well, I love her just the first day I saw her. And then she'll say, I love him just like the first day he saw me. And so that is the cycle that they're in. But though, her mind may be deteriorating, love is not. So a
Wow.
disease can't conquer that. So I thought that was a really good story for today.
That's awesome. So our call to action for the week. One of the other Spirit podcast hosts, Miss Allison Bullock, challenged Chazz and I to do what was called a honeydew week. So it's basically 7 days where no matter what your spouse asks you to do, you do it with no questions, no comment, no pushback. It's just, okay, honey. So my call to action for this week is that our audience, those of you who are married and preparing to be married, that you take 7 days of a honeydew week. And for 7 days, just enjoy your time together. No matter what your spouse asks you to do, just do it. Was it hard? Did you?
No, not really. Not really. The number one thing I would say was you just can't take advantage of them. You may sit there and be ready, like, okay, I've been waiting to get this out of my chest. But you can't be like that, because it's for service and it's for the greater good. So I think it's an awesome project.
And it allows you to put your focus on your partner, because, no matter what they ask you, you're going into it with the mindset of no matter what he says, I'm just going to do it with a smile. Okay, honey. So our action item for the week is join us, adopt whatever 7 days you choose with your spouse, and have a honeydew week. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you all for joining us and let us borrow some of your light and your expertise as we approach our marriage journey. Follow The Lifted Lifestyle on all social media channels. You can find us on Facebook at The Lifted Lifestyle, on Instagram at The Lifted Lifestyle. I am Latasha Weatherspoon on Instagram at Tasha Spoon, and he is
the CEO of Creative Opportunities. You can find me on Twitter at Chazz Bailey. Simple and sweet.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being here with us. Remember that your life is yours. Live it, lift it.